Hello, my friends. How are you? If you're new here, thank you for joining me. And if you like what you see, please like and subscribe down below. You can also hit the bell to get notifications for when I post new videos. If you are returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for coming to share time with me again. For those of you that don't know, I'm Michelle, and this is my channel, Penny's Daughter Shares, where I talk primarily about cross stitch. And actually today we will be talking pretty much all about my FFO March Madness. And I am really excited because I have several things that I think were very exciting that happened and that I've done actually. And I can't wait to share all of that with you. Let's get right to FFO March Madness and the update of where we're at in all of your voting, which, and I don't think I said that yet. Thank you so much for everyone that took the time to track me down on Instagram and to follow along and to vote. I appreciate it so much. It was really fun. And as I tally up these results for you on this video, you're going to see some of the real excitement that happened with it. We'll start with, I'll put up my bracket here, and what I'm showing are the results through the semifinals. So what it shows are the 8 projects that were involved in the voting process over the past week. And we are now down to my final 4, which, if you're not familiar with how I'm doing my March Madness, those final 4 projects I will fully finish within the next week, because I plan to put up another video next week showing you those 4 full finishes that will then be voted on March 28th and 29th, and then again on March 31st to have a final voted favorite project that I FFO'd over the month of March. So, like I said, there's my bracket. And, that's the other thing. I am going to try to stop saying, like I said. I seem to use that phrase quite often. So I'm going to try really hard not to say it anymore on this video. Bracket. And when you tell yourself you can't use certain words, you have to think some extra before you let the words come out of your mouth. Let's move on to the first matchup from this week's voting. So this was the voting finals for my pillow toss bracket. Here are the 2 contenders and how I put up for the vote. So it was my mom's Santa face sweatshirt that she had cross-stitched, and that was up against Hands-On Design, Berries in Bloom. And to finish it, I plan to make a pillow using the kit I purchased from simplestitchesfabricshop. And here are the results. As you can see, Berries in Bloom won the final for the pillow toss bracket, and I will be fully finishing that this week to go into the final rounds of voting. Up next is my put a pin in it bracket, and this was the final vote for the item going through out of this bracket. Here's what you were voting on, and it was the Abby Rose Designs Primitive Merry Christmas Pillow. It was up against Hands-On Design Block Party 4th. And the Prim Merry Christmas pillow, I've explained before, I plan to fully finish into a small pin pillow, much like the chart picture shows on the front. And Black Party 4th, I plan to make into a black pin cushion, just like the chart instructions show you how to do. And here are the results. I will say this one surprised me. I did not expect the Primitive Merry Christmas pillow to win, but it did. And let's see. Oh, I forgot to say, the first round, I know the vote was quite decisive. It was very clearly mostly preferred the Berries and Bloom pillow over my mom's Santa Fe sweatshirt. And this one, I think the voting was much closer. And I did this last time. You would think I would remember that and write down how close it was. We can see the percentages here on my little video clip that I'm sharing with you. So you can see this one was closer than the first bracket with the pillow toss. So that is put a pin in it, and Primitive Merry Christmas pillow will be going into, or is in, the final 4. The next bracket that you voted on, not we, you. You voted on for me was Forget the Frame bracket, and up in that vote was the Notforgotten Farm Bobbin Along drum, which I think it's obvious I plan to finish this into a drum as it shows on the chart. And it was up against the Hands-On Design Let's Talk Stitching bag, which I had also purchased a kit for this from Simple Stitches Fabric Shop to make it into a project bag. And this matchup was so exciting. So the first day of voting, I put it up there, and I don't know how this happened. It came out in a dead tie. Exactly even number of votes, 50-50. And so I had to decide what to do about that. And I thought it would be fun to send it into overtime, just like the real March Madness would have happen. So I posted it up to be voted on a second time on the next day. So I think it ended up being on Friday that this one was voted on for the second time in an overtime vote. And here are the final results. And the winner of the Forget the Frame bracket was the Notforgotten Farm Bobbin Along drum. But even with the overtime vote, this was still very close. Only 5 votes separated the 2 projects. So clearly, you guys like both of these projects very much. And I think this is a perfect time to say, I do plan on fully finishing and sharing with you the FFO on all of these things, whether they won their voting in the bracket or not. So that was Forget the Frame bracket, and very exciting to go into overtime. Actually, when the votes are really close, that's actually more fun for me. All right, so on to the final bracket, which is the Frame It Up bracket. And the 2 projects in going for the final vote in this bracket are the Winter Rose Manor by Brenda Gervais with Thy Needle and Thread, plus the pin cushion that is part of that chart also. And that went up against Blackbird Designs What Remains, which I had stitched in honor of my mom. And yeah, I'm pretty sure, well, we're going to see the results now. as you can see, Winter Rose Manor won the finals of the Frame It Up bracket. And because I didn't write the results down for me to see the numbers while I'm talking to you, I'm pretty sure this one was fairly decisive also. And I have to say, it surprised me. I didn't really know which one of these was going to win. I didn't have an expectation by any means. But what I did expect was that this was going to be the matchup that was going to be so tight and close in voting. And it really wasn't that tight of a vote. So that wraps up the results and gives you the final four, which I'll show a picture here of the final four projects that will be up for voting. You're going to see the fully finished objects, and when you're voting at the end of the month, you will be voting on the fully finished object. That will already be done. So there's the four of them. And here is my bracket that shows how this has all played out together and shows our final four that are going on to be FFO'd. And then I want to show you, here's what the matchups will look like. So here's the first matchup that will be voted on March 28th. And it is Hands-On Design Berries in Bloom pillow with the pillow kit from Simple Stitches Fabric Shop. And it will be going up against the Abby Rose Designs Primitive Merry Christmas pillow that will be a small pin pillow. And like I said, that will be voted on March 28th. Then our second matchup for the finals is this one here, and will be voted on March 29th. It is the Notforgotten Farm Bobbin Along Drum, and it will be up against Brenda Gervais with Winter Rose Manor and the pincushion that is part of the chart. So those are the votes for March 28th and March 29th. And then I'll have the results from those, and the final vote will be on March 31st, and that will determine the most favorite project of the month of March that I've done, and will be the FFO March Madness champion. But let's face it, I'm the real winner here because I've gotten a lot done, or I will have at that point. Plan is I will fully finish our final four vote receivers here. I'm going to work on fully finishing those this week so that I can do another video next weekend-ish, give or take a day or two, so that I can get that up showing all the full finishes, and then you guys have time to see the video and then be able to go over on March 28th, which I think is Tuesday. Don't quote me on that. I should have written it down, but I didn't. Well, what's today? I don't know. So I can't talk about calendar without it in front of me or written down. So March 28th is when the first voting will be. So if I get a video up next weekend with all the full finishes, you'll be able to see those and know what's coming up on what you'll be voting for. That wraps up the results from FFO March Madness. And I just want to say one more time, thank you so much for participating and voting and being part of the fun. Did you notice that I'm missing my lovely Hocus Pocus piece that I finished for Jeff? He took it to his office, so I need to get some more FFOs done to fill in some space. And actually, I have 2 that I want to share with you. I'm very excited about these. These are not vote winners. Is that what I want to say? I guess so. They did not get the most votes in their brackets, but they were part of my FFO March Madness voting. And we are going to start with, I am going to show you the picture of, let's see, usually I would show you a chart picture. I don't have that for either one of these. So I will show you what I will call the finish here, which this you'll see is my father-in-law's ugly Christmas sweater with the cow on the front. And I have turned it into a pillow. And I made a little video showing you how I did this because, in my opinion, it is magic. I was so excited about it when I came up with this idea and I was able to execute it. So let me put that video clip in here and then I will see you on the other side of it. I'm going to try to show you what I'm calling my magic, my magic trick for how I turned my father-in-law's sweater into a pillow. So I'm going to start by, we're going to insert a picture of the front of the sweater so that you can see what it looked like to start with. Because this was my father-in-law's sweater, I really didn't want to cut it. So I thought and thought and thought a lot about how to do this project because I really wanted to turn this into a pillow so we could enjoy it all the time and enjoy our memories of him. But I couldn't bring myself to cut it in order to do that. So I came up with this idea one day and I am thinking it's pretty darn cool. So the first thing I did was, you can see the cow on the front of the sweater. Obviously that wanted to be the center of my project or the pillow when I got done. And I essentially kind of measured it. It wasn't exact by any means, but I tried to get a fairly even measurement. I planned out where on the sweater I wanted, how much border. I'm not going to explain this very well. So you saw the front. I think if I explain while I have it inside out before I show you the flip, then I can move my hands around and explain it. So you saw the front. Now this is how it looks now. It's obviously inside out here, the sleeves. And if you look carefully, it may be hard to see on the video, but I hand sewed this. So you can kind of see on this side here and on this side here. And then I think my other seam line is about right here. I can just kind of see a little bit of an indentation there. So what I did to figure out where I wanted to sew these, what I was explaining was I took the cow, tried to center it best I could. So I had, fairly even borders around the cow. And I also had to keep in mind the sleeve seams because I didn't want those kind of sticking out. So what I wanted to do was figure out how to make a pillow out of this that was square and flat. Does that make sense? I hope. So I took into account my, like I said, the sleeve seams, and then on this one, it didn't really make a big difference because the collar is so much higher. I mean, I had a lot of inches here to mess with in terms of how to make it work. My plan is that the bottom sort of waistband part, I hope this video is turning out okay because this is the first time I've done sort of, I'm going to call it a tutorial. And I'm using that very loosely as a term here, but it's it's weird to do it this way. Anyway, the waistband I plan on turning in, and I will sew this closed with both pieces of the waistband turned in. So that's where I plan to have my seam for the bottom of the pillow, or, you know, to close it. So, like I said, I measured everything out. Fortunately, this wasn't too hard to do because you can see there's a very directional straight lines of pattern sewn or knitted into this sweater. So I just followed along, you know, one of these seams here on each side based on my measurements, and then I could stick pretty close to a fairly straight line because of the design in the knit of the sweater. Okay, so I planned all that out. I hand sewed it because I didn't want to put it through the sewing machine. I wasn't sure what that was going to do to the knit of the sweater. So it was just easier to hand sew it. And based on my measurements, I came up with an 18-inch square fit really well. So that's what I based everything on, is I made this using that 18-inch square measurement, and then I bought a 20-inch pillow form that I'm going to use to stuff this with. Okay, so I'm checking my notes because I want to make sure that I'm telling you everything, all the details and how I did this. And now I'm going to show you the magic. Okay, here's the great part. So inside out sweater, everything all fully attached. And now I am going to turn it right side out. And this isn't going to be a perfect turn. I'm going to go get the pillow stuffed in it and everything to show you. But here, if I tuck the sleeves in there, look at that. It's magic. Like, I did it so fast, I didn't even talk while I did it. Like I said, it's not a perfect turn yet, but here's my front of my pillow. Obviously, these are going to get the bottom here. Oh, let me make sure that's in the camera. The bottom here, this will get flipped up to sew it closed. So here's the front. Here is the back. No sleeves. It's a square. Isn't that amazing? Oh my gosh. Like, when I thought of this idea and figured it out, and then when I actually sewed it together and flipped it inside out, it literally felt like magic to me. So I'm really excited, and thank you for letting me share it with you. So as you can see, here are the sleeves. Pillow is stuffed, or pillow form is stuffed inside the pillow, or inside the pillow I created from the sweater. But I want to show you before I close it up, here are the sleeves. I probably need to adjust them just a little bit more. Like right here, if you can see my fingers moving, that is the collar, just so that it's not too bunched up. So I'll try to get these as flat as possible. Although this is the back of the pillow. Does it matter? Not really. But I wanted to show you how that looked before I got it all closed up. All right, do you agree? Did it seem magic the way I did that? Seriously, I'm so excited about it. I almost can't put it into words, like to describe how this turned out. And then at the same time, a little frustrated with myself because it's taken me so long to get this done. Had I figured this out a while ago, I could have had it done a long time ago because it wasn't that hard. It did not take me that long. But anyway, I'm sure you're dying to see the actual full finish. And here it is. Check it out. It looks so awesome, and now we can look at it all the time because it's not getting put away for just Christmas. At least not for a while. We can all look at it now and enjoy it. And I'm sorry. Probably going to do this again when I show you my other full finish, and that'll give you a hint on what it is. But like I explained in the video clip, actually I think I showed you 2. So once I had this sewed together, turned right side out. Sorry, I didn't know I would get this emotional over the sweater today because I'm really excited about it too. But so I shoved the pillow in there and then sewed the bottom closed. And sorry. Okay, I think I've gathered myself enough to talk. But here it is. It is fully finished. And like I said, now we can look at it all the time and remember how much he loved this silly sweater. That, I mean, we knew he would like it, but what we didn't know was when we bought it for him, how soon he would not be with us anymore. And so to know that he loved it so much and wouldn't take it off hardly at all for like, I don't know, it was about a month after Christmas. He wore it bowling, he wore it everywhere. And I imagine he probably would jingle this bell, knowing him at all. So this is full finish number 1 that I'm going to share with you today. And that was my little magic trick that I actually used on the next one I'm going to show too. So let's move on to the second FFO. Here is my second FFO of this video, and it's a big one, big in importance. Here is, again, I don't have a chart picture for you this time, or floss colors, or count of fabric, any of those kinds of details. I do have what I will call the finish that I will show here in a picture. As you can see, this is the sweatshirt that I have that my mom cross-stitched, and it's somewhere between 25 and 30 years old. I've had it for 25 years, just sitting, stored, and for at least 2 or 3 years, I have had a plan to make it into a pillow. And I just, because it was such an important thing, I kept kind of putting it off because I put a lot of pressure on myself for it to be perfect, and I need to let go of that. We need to enjoy it, not that it needs to be perfect. So I came up with fabric choice that I think was wonderful. Okay, I guess I'll show you the full finish, and then I have another picture that I'll insert to kind of show a little more details. So I apologize if this is a little wonky this time, just because it's different than the way I usually show you things. I'm going to do my best. Here is my full finish. Isn't it gorgeous? Oh my gosh. Again, this did not take me all that long. once I did it and planned it. And I'm mad that it took me so long. But I don't know if things would have come together so perfectly had I not thought about it for the length of time that I did. Let's see. So, okay. This I made with the same magic that I made my father-in-law's sweater pillow. So this sweatshirt is still fully intact. And I think here is where I will show you a picture. So I'm gonna set this down, then I can remember to put the picture in here. And what this picture shows you is the sweatshirt's still intact, but I've done my quilt piecing on the sweatshirt to create my pillow front. So the back of the pillow, and I'll show you when I bring it back up here, is the back of the sweatshirt. So while this picture's up, I'll explain. The fabrics that I chose are Tim Holtz Christmas Time, and I bought a fat quarter bundle of this line of fabric, and I love, love, love these fabrics. I love them so much. They are very vintagey and very retro, and I love them so much. And I never, other than using a bit here and there, which I had not had a project that I wanted that was worthy of how much I loved these fabrics. Does that make sense? And so the day that I decided, oh my gosh, these fabrics would be perfect with this, it was just like birds were singing and lights were going off, and it felt like magic again. So, like I said, there's that phrase, sorry. With the retro and vintage vibe of these fabrics, I felt they are a perfect marriage with my mom's sweatshirt because it's so memory heavy that the time referenced when you talk vintage and retro, it fits with the timing of this sweatshirt. Maybe not exactly, or technically in historical terms, but in my memories, that's how it lives. And, you know, when my mom made this sweatshirt, it might not have been that we had tinsel on our Christmas tree, you know, the old-fashioned icicle tinsels. But I remember doing that as I was growing up. And that's what these fabrics make me think of, are those vintage retro type Christmas decor. Okay, so like I stopped myself on that one. This is the picture of it laying out before I sewed it into the pillow shape. So let's go back to the full finish. And like I said, sorry, I'm gonna work on that. You can see this is sweatshirt. It's the back of the sweatshirt. And if you look carefully, you can see the outline of the sleeves, how I laid them in there. I worked to get them as smooth as possible, but I'm also okay with a few lumps and bumps from them because I know they're in there and it's on the back anyway, but it just retains some character, I think is maybe a good way to put it. Like I said, my mom cross-stitched this. She used waste canvas, and I specifically remember her on our bathroom floor with this soaking wet on top of a towel, a pair of tweezers, and I'm pretty sure she was in tears as she was trying to take all of that waste canvas out of this in order to wear it. And she wore it a lot because, you know, sweatshirts, you can tell when they've been washed frequently on the inside, right? This sweatshirt has that, I promise. So I think it was one of those things she thought to herself how much work she put into it. She was gonna wear it a lot. Like I said, Tim Holtz fabrics. I added a little flange trim in here. This is, you won't be able probably to see it because it's fairly small. It is basic gray grunge. It has polka dots on it, the large, like dime size polka dots. And it's called something, but it's escaping me at the moment. Tim Holtz Christmas time fabrics. I planned out this sweatshirt like I explained with the other sweater. I did this the same way. This one needed a little more maneuvering, if you will, with the collar and the waistband and the sleeves because it's a little smaller than the sweater I was working with for my father-in-law. My original plan was 2 rows of blacked piecing all the way around. Well, if you look carefully, do you see I only have 1 row at the top? I have 3 rows at the bottom. That's because this Santa face was not perfectly centered on the sweater. It was up a little higher like you would, you know, a screen print t-shirt or something. So I had to turn and swivel and maneuver, and I am so thrilled with how that happy mistake or accident worked out because I think this looks even better. You know, when you sit it down, the Santa face really stands out and you can really see it fully and clearly, which was the point of making the pillow, was seeing the Santa face and remembering my mom and her work. The pillow size that I was making was 18 inches square. I stuffed it with a 20-inch square pillow form. The square that I created around the Santa face was approximately 10 inches. I think it came down to about 9.5 once I added this flange trim around, you know, to kind of frame it out, the face. And then each of the squares I cut at 2.5 inches, so they're about 2 inches finished. And you saw on the picture how I sewed all of the quilt fabrics, all of my piecing, I sewed onto the sweatshirt. And there were a couple times I'm like, why did I not just cut this apart? Because it was a little hard to do in a few corners and moving around, but I managed it and I'm really glad that I stuck through it and did it. I did actually do like quilting stitching. All I did was sew the blocks to the sweatshirt as sort of my batting, if that makes sense. And that was another part where I had to let go of my perfectionist tendencies because I was doing some quilting, and normally I would want every square to have the same quilting, so on all 4 sides. Well, that did not happen on this because of having this big, beautiful stitch in the middle. I couldn't figure out how to do the machine quilting that way. And I'm totally fine and happy with it now that I'm done. It looks great. The blocks are stitched down more than enough to keep them, you know, in position as this gets shifted around a little bit here and there. And it just, you guys, I am so happy with this. And I know I've said it a million times already, but it just, everything came together just right. And I'm so excited that I just get to sit this out and I get to look at it all the time now. Oh, I got it. We got to get these things out of drawers and out of bins and out from under the bed and wherever else we have them. Okay. Didn't realize I was going to get so teary because I was so excited about everything, but all of the emotions all get heightened together, right? So you get excited, you may get more sadness feelings, right? Or I don't know. It's not really sadness. It is sad that I don't get to be with her, but so that is the second of my 2 fantastic FFOs to get to share with you today. I feel like this was a pretty short video. I won't know until I edit everything together to be able to tell you for sure. And I often surprise myself by thinking, oh, it's a short video, and then I put it together and it's not. I think it's because I was showing fewer items than I usually do. Let's move on to plans. So here are my plans. FFO, 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 FFO. And if I get that done, FFO, FFO, FFO some more. In all seriousness, that is my plan for the week, is primarily focused on FFOs. And the first ones that we'll get focused on are our final 4, which I'll put that up here one more time just to show you the pictures. And it is Berries in Bloom from Hands On Design and Simple Stitches Fabric Shop. It is Abby Rose Designs Prim Merry Christmas Pillow. It is Bobbin Along Drum from Notforgotten Farm. And it is Winter Rose Manor from Brenda Gervais with Thy Needle and Thread. It's the pincushion that's also in the chart. I want to get that finished as long as I'm finishing the framing of Winter Rose Manor. So I guess technically that's 5 FFOs I plan on getting done this week. And if I have time, or maybe a better way to say it, if I make time for it, because I cannot picture myself going all week without actually putting in some cross stitches. I just don't work that way. I will squeeze in a little something here and there, and it will probably, for sure, it will be the spring stitching that I shared with you before. Some of that I'm working on. And yeah, so FFOs, and FFOs. Thank you again for voting on this March Madness that actually turned into madness with an overtime match. And a little bit of stitching where I can sort of work it into my busy schedule. And then I will be able to share those 4 full finishes 4 FFOs with you next weekend. And then I will go over again and remind you when the voting will be for those. So I won't belabor that this time because I know I've talked about it a couple of times already, sharing it with you. But those are my plans. And with that, I am going to say, as I always like to say, thank you so much for sharing your time with me. And I will talk to you soon.